Gold is performing really well here. It actually was one of the top performing asset classes in 2024, which I don't think really got as much attention as maybe it deserved. Consumer confidence is down a little bit, and we've got some pretty lackluster home sales data that we'll cover. My name's Brandon Steele, financial advisor with Mainsail Financial Group here in Bellevue. And our goal every Thursday is to bring to you the market news, the data, the trends we're watching, and hopefully weed out a little bit of the noise along the way. Before we jump in, I will share that there has been a little bit of a pause here in some of the volatility. Certainly came back a little bit yesterday on Wednesday. But generally speaking, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen some more up days, a little bit more muted volatility. So hopefully that trend continues. We'll wait and see, how things kind of shake out from here. But just kind of a general update, I thought that might be helpful. Getting into the data, there's a couple things to cover. It'll be a little shorter session because there's not so much data here this week, but a lot coming up next week for sure. So we'll cover consumer confidence, home sales data, and then a great question of the week around gold, basically gold prices and what's going on there. So first thing I'll mention is on the consumer confidence side of things, the number did come in lower than expected and quite a bit of a shift downward really from last month. Now, what I want to mention here is I want to kind of like tie this to the Fed conversation there from recently. The Fed did mention that they're watching this. They mentioned this actually very specifically. So one data point, again, not a whole lot to write home about, but nonetheless, it is important now to watch this apparently, in addition to the things that they say are their mandate, which are obviously inflation, jobs, and then just the general stability of the economy. So again, consumer confidence, we'll probably spend a little more time on that here moving forward, just given that the Fed did mention it more specifically. And then we also had home sales data come out here over the last week or so. So we had new home sales come out showing 676,000, which was slightly lower than expectations and a slight tick up from the prior month. And then today, we also had pending home sales data come out, which showed that the pending home sales numbers were up 2%, not 0.2. Pending home sales up 2%, so slightly better than expectations. And again, a tick up from last month, because last month we actually had a negative number on the pending home sales data. So hopefully that gives kind of a general high level of what I think are maybe the more important data points here this week. But coming up, we've got a lot. We've got inflation data tomorrow, and then we kick off jobs week. So be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll make sure we cover all of that. But before we break here for this week's session, a great question of the week around gold prices. So if you've been following, you may know that this has been a kind of a story for some time now. Gold is performing really well here. It actually was one of the top performing asset classes in 2024, which I don't think really got as much attention as maybe it deserved. And then so far this year has been really strong as well. There's a number of things at work here. I think a lot of this is based on the fears of the tariffs coming into play and what that could mean and how that translates to potentially higher inflation, weaker dollar, these different aspects. So gold is definitely an asset class to watch. I will share that, we've with our clients, we've kind of looked at some commodity structures, so a little more diversified, but gold being a big component of that. And this is exactly why it helps hedge a bit for the downside, but also, if inflation does pick back up and some of these things do come to be true, gold can be a kind of shining star in all of this. And again, for what it's worth, 2024 was actually one of the top performing asset classes in terms of like the broader stock market and bonds and cash. So definitely worthwhile to touch on this. I'm glad this came up here in this week's question of the week. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. Again, we've got a lot to cover with inflation data that we'll get tomorrow and then jobs week getting started. In the meantime, have a great upcoming weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday at 3.